there's always been the concerns of the security and privacy. As we know, Zoom has had, there were some incidences involving Zoom calls as well. So how has Zoom responded to these incidences, and what have they done to make the whole experience better for their users?
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for asking that question, because we've been very well humbled by the use of our platform. And Zoom was built for businesses, and we, before the pandemic, we had thousands of businesses using our platform in secure ways, and it had been configured for them by their IT functions, and they'd selected the defaults and selected the configuration, and so everything worked well. What we saw with the pandemic is that a whole range of users who weren't supported by IT departments picked up Zoom and just started using it for their use cases. They amazed us. They amazed us by their ingenuity and how they used our products to continue their lives in education, in leisure and business. And what we found with their usage came uninvited guests, security researchers, really looking at our product inside and outside. And of course, we'd made some mistakes with some of our marketing terminology. And as a consequence of that, we launched a 90-day plan starting on April the 1st, where we knew that we had to understand these new users, their use cases, and we had to innovate our product. So we stopped every other feature, but focused the entire engineering effort on privacy and security, which was really, really delivered. Sometimes you kind of look at these things and you think, oh yeah, that's what they'll do. Yeah, fine. But when you see it and really it happens, it's quite impressive. So we fine-tuned that, we kind of changed all the defaults for new users so they were automatically protected. We introduced Zoom 5.0, which introduced a security shield at the bottom, which brought together all the security features and introduced some new ones like reporting a user. And that meant that it was, again, now usable to use security, because previously something like lock the meeting was you had to click there and click there and then click there. This is now you can go to the shield, click the shield, and up come all the security and privacy options, which, has just been marvelous. I was amazed how much better it was, so it's great to see that happening. And we also addressed, the encryption standard. Having rolled out Zoom 5.0, we went to AES 256 GCM encryption on the 22nd of May with a kind of across the network. So we changed the whole encryption standard, on a rolling basis overnight. And that meant that no old software is on our network. So you have to be on Zoom 5 or higher to be able to work at the new encryption standard, which was brilliant because it meant that all these new security and privacy features were with the users, in the hands of the users. So that was a really powerful move. It was, huge amount of work, because, we've kind of taken on a responsibility that all these people needed us, and we were amazed by how they were using our platform, but we had to respond. And I'm pretty proud how the company has responded, and helped people in their time of need. Clearly, Eric, you and our CEO did a number of really altruistic things in opening up the platform to tens of thousands of schools to be able to use it free during the pandemic. So I hope that answers how we responded to that kind of tsunami of learning that came our way. But the other thing that it's taught us is that we must not take security and privacy for granted. It must be 100% top of mind. And every time we do something, we must be thinking, what does that mean for these users? What does it mean for these users? What about these personas, etc.? So security and privacy is top of mind now, having dedicated that 90 days to regaining trust after some of the publicity you talked about.
Yeah, speaking of publicity as well, the term Zoombombing, just curious, what do you think about it actually? Now everybody refers to it as Zoombombing. So what's your views on that?
Aaron, I refer to it as uninvited guests. Well, I mean, let's take this, let's be serious for a moment, because we were extremely upset to find that our platform was being used by people to, really do some, kind of harm people through the use of video. So, so we reacted really quickly. We put, adjusted our defaults that we talked about. We've done a lot of education in order to make sure that people know how to use secure meetings, or where to use a webinar, where to use a meeting. Encourage people not to share links on social media, which was definitely a source of problem. Right. And little things like the meeting ID. I don't know if you remember when Boris Johnson tweeted a picture with a meeting ID in the top left-hand corner. It caused all sorts of problems. Now, the Cabinet Office had done a brilliant job. They'd secured their meeting. This was, a one-time use ID. This was published later, so it was fine. But, it kind of realized that we'd created a situation where the Prime Minister of the UK could be criticised because of a usability feature that we put in. So we decided, we need to fine tune that, because we don't want people to be criticised for sharing a picture of their meeting on social media. So, that was it was a very busy period, because we were helping adjust our product, but also helping people use it safely, whilst also following up some really, really nasty cases with the authorities, to make sure that those who had, abused some of our users and broken our terms and conditions were persecuted.